Now let us see some discussion. Now let us see some discussion about the alluvial soils. So alluvial soils, we all know that these soils are mostly deposits brought by riverbanks. So how these soils are formed? These soils are formed from a parent material like river alluviums. Alluviums like whatever the eroded products brought by the rivers are called alluvial deposits, and followed by the coastal alluviums, that most of the seawater sand or coastal sands mostly formed by these coastal alluviums, and followed by deltaic alluviums. Deltaic alluviums like very heterogeneous, because here the deposits will be very say lot, because there will be a lot of different compounds usually deposits in this type of deltaic alluvium. That's why it's called as a heterogeneous sediments, we can see, because every season a river will brought a different sediments, so there will be a different heterogeneous sediments we can observe in this deltaic alluviums. Now let us see in detail about these alluvial deep soils. So what are these silent features? What are these features of these alluvial soils? So we can see texture is variable. Why? Because texture is variable, because these are the brought by the rivers, so mostly there will be a coarser near coarse to near source. In the source of the river there will be very coarse texture will be there, and very finer in the mouth end of the river, that means where the sea meets, there you can see some finer type of texture we can see, and fallible in nature, stratified with the reflected in the texture, and most and organic matter disturbances will be there in this type of soils, and followed by color. Mostly the color of these alluvial soils are highly depend on the or on our parent material brought by the river, or brought by the water of the river. So mostly the depth condition is highly dependent on the geographic positions, depends upon the topographic positions. If these rivers are deposited in the lowland area, we can see there will be a very deeper alluvial deposits we can see. If it is in upper land, we may not see that much higher depth of deposits. We may not see alluvial deposit in the upper land type of soils. And another important point is calcium carbonate is highly variable. Why? Because the deposits brought by the river from a source, for example, this is a source of river, so river is a continuous flow. We These river will brought, sometimes it may brought high amount of calcium deposits, sometimes maybe low deposits will be there. So that's why these alluvial deposits are highly variable, so automatically calcium carbonate content also is highly variable. And another important, mostly alkaline nature will be there, and the soil moisture regime. And why the this SMR means soil moisture regime. We will discuss about the soil moisture regime in taxonomic classification of soils. So for the time you can say acidic and acidic, are sometimes, if it's acidic condition, the soil moisture regime will be in Udic range. So in this in Udic region, in this reaction, and followed by the profile development. How far the profile is where the profile varies from A to C, and sometimes we can see full development of A to A, B, C profile lines also we can see in this alluvial deposits. And mostly as these are brought by the river deposits, we can see there will be a very good rich in plant nutrients will be there, and sufficiently we can see the phosphorus and potassium, and but sometimes there will be a deficiency of nitrogen and organic matter we can observe in this alluvial deposit. So overall I want to say only one thing. These soils are deposited by the rivers, so lot of variations will be there, and sometimes old deposits will be removed or will be carried out to the further distance, or sometimes the permanent deposits will be there. So that's why the profile like A and C might be there in one spot, or sometimes we can see A, B, C we can see, and the calcium carbonate deposits will be varies because it's deposited by the river. And what are the potentials? So despite of all these advantages and silent features, what are the potentials we can see in this type of soils? So very first, these are brought by the river alluviums, as I told, and deltaic alluvium. These river alluviums and deltaic alluviums are best for the agriculture crops. That's why we can see most of the Mahanadi region belt, we can see there is a uh, very good crop cultivations will be there, because it's a very fertile lands are there in near in the source of Mahanadi river of Odisha. So we can, due to this advantage, we can grow diversified crops can be grown like wheat we can grow and paddy we can grow, very popular in Mahanadi Delta regions, and sugarcane also can be grown in this type of soils. So overall, all these advantages and advantages, there are some sort of constraints also is there. What are the constraints and how we have to manage? Let us see. So very first stratification, because of restricted leaching will be there. Very leaching will be there, and sometimes we can face some drainage problem also will be there in this alluvial type of soils. And due to the extreme sandy nature, we can see there will be excessive leaching of water and plant nutrients. Despite of though the soils have a very good nutrient holding capacity, but due to the sandy nature of this alluvial deposits, we can see there is a lot of leaching of plant nutrients we can observe in this alluvial soils, and followed by hydromorphic conditions, because there will be a moisture condition will be there is a good supply of water will be there, and what we can see reduction of nutrients we can see, and we can face a problem called poor aeration will be there for the plant growth. So this is one sort of slight demerit in this type of alluvial soils. Followed by, there can be a rendered saline problem will be there. And what happen means, these especially perennial rivers, like perennial or annual rivers will be there. What happened when the river flow was restricted or when the river flow was very less? What will happen? Due to the excess evaporation, what will happen, or excess rainfall, what will happen in most in arid type of zones, there we can see some salinity problem will be there. There will be some deposition salinity problem. For example, we can see, imagine this is an agricultural land, and we can see there is a flow of river water will be there. But what happened until this river where flows, this will deposit, lot of deposits will be brought. But once the river flow was restricted or river was stopped flowing due to some various conditions, various problems, what will happen? Whatever the salts brought by these rivers, what will happen? These river will be deposited in the top layer. Sometimes what happen means, whatever the salts are there in the subsurface layer also, due to the capillary fringe, there will be a deposition on the surface soils also we can see. So ultimately what will happen, uh, why this evaporation happens is due to the temperature cause. Due to the heavy temperature and due to the local climatic conditions, we can see there is a deposition of salts will be there, and there we will end up a problem called saline soil conditions we can be end up. And another important thing is called river alluviums and delta alluviums are becoming waterlogged. Yes, there will be a severe waterlogging will be there, and salt affected due to the injudicious use and injudicious use of irrigation water. So what happened, especially in southern states of India, we can see this issue. Due to this deltaic alluvium and injudicious use of irrigation water, what happened means, mostly in the lower surface of the land, we can see there is a dissolved salts will be there. Most of the farmers in the deltaic regions, for the continuous for their crop growth in off season also, they used to pump out this sort of salts from dissolved in the dissolved salts through water. They will be pumped off, and this water will be used as irrigation. And due to this injudicious use of irrigation water, what will happen? Those soils are end up to have a salt injury. That means there is some type of salt end up. We will end up with a salt deposits will be, we can see in a alluvial deltaic alluvium and river alluviums we can see. And another important, due to the intensive use of cultivation, secondary problems like deficiency of sulfur and zinc, this major secondary and micronutrient deficiency we can see in this deltaic and alluvium type or river alluvium type of conditions, because intensive cultivation throughout year there will be cultivation. Hardly the soils will be in rest. The agriculture fields will be rest in summer season, rest all period. There is a continuous rigorous cultivation will be there. So due to this continuous exploitation of nutrients from the soil, there we can see some deficiency of micro and some other secondary nutrients problem we can see very popular in this type of deficiency is often seen in Sambalpur and district soils. And receding groundwater and raising the ground levels of water, what will happen means, because continuous supply of water from the river, there we can see sometimes there is a raise of groundwater level will be there in some areas. And how to manage this? So despite of all these problems, how to manage these soils? Very first management, judicious use of irrigation water and fertilizer is the only solution for this type of soil management. And we should provide a proper drainage facility. We have to provide good subsurface drainage system or surface drainage system we have to follow to avoid the salt injuries, or to stop ending up soils as a saline soils. So like this, we have to take care of our alluvial soils. Thank you.